Virat Kohli's milestone day is just a couple of days away. It was under great expectations he made his debut, and for many he has surpassed what records even legends of the game set. 11 years ago, when a spunky chubby Virat Kohli began his test career, it was with the promise of great things to come. Given his prodigious promise, his climb began under a tremendous weight of expectations. And now as he gears up for his 100th test, his achievements in the most testing format of the game have even surpassed some of the true batting legends. As the nation waits to revel in Kohli's milestone day in Mohali, we take a look at some of his memorable knocks in test cricket. And to take us through all those innings, I have my in-house guest with me, Nikhil Narayan, who also happens to be a cricket data analyst, and also he will be in Mohali to witness Kohli's milestone test up close. So Nikhil, it has nothing but a legendary ride from a legendary cricketer. He has come a long way in the last decade decade or so, and it has been a decade of excellence. So how do you see Kohli's journey up till the 99 test as he gears up to play his 100th test?
Virat Kohli, Atishay, is undoubtedly, amongst the greatest, test batsmen of all time. I know, I say this with a lot of conviction, with a lot of analysis. He's not just an Indian great. He's amongst the greatest test batsmen of all time. Amongst Indian batsmen, I would place him at number 3, after Rahul Dravid and Sachin Tendulkar. What he's achieved, especially, in England, in Australia, in South Africa, it's unprecedented for an Indian batsman. He's going through a slump currently, but still his test batting average is above 50. Not many players in the world. In fact, Atisha, here's a stat for you. If he scores 38 or more in the test, he'll be among the 16 batsmen in the history of test cricket who've played 100 tests and still average above 50. So he's in a league of
stone cold exceptional.
He's in a league of extraordinary gentlemen, if I can put it that way. And I expect nothing less. I think with this test we'll see the return of Virat Kohli. It's just an intuition, because I think he needs that little catalyst. And this 100 test, if the world is watching, the crowds are coming, this test is dedicated to him, because apart from this test, apart from being Kohli's 100 test, there is not much of an occasion to play Sri Lanka. So therefore, if the eyes are on Virat Kohli, and I think he's going to, raise the bar in Mohali.
Well, I don't know if he is going to do so or not, but everyone in India and also cricket fans in general want to see a terrific knock from Virat Kohli, something which all of us have been waiting to see from Virat Kohli in Test cricket. And now to take our viewers back to those memorable innings by Virat Kohli. So Nikhil, I want to start with his Test debut, which happened at Kingston against West Indies. Again, not a great opposition, but the manner which he sparkled in his very first innings, he just sowed the seeds of what was about to come in the future.
Yes, Atisha, it wasn't a great test debut for him in the Caribbean. He was dismissed for 4 and 15. In both the innings, the dismissal read caught wicketkeeper, bowled Fidel Edwards. So it was a similar dismissal. First, he was caught poking outside the off stump. In the first innings. Second innings, he was caught down the leg side. Not a great start, but great starts always, not always do you need a great start to make a great batsman. So Virat Kohli already showed his class in the 2011 World Cup in England some months before. The series in the Caribbean was in June. He had performed, he had produced some, match-changing knocks, including in the final, under pressure. The 30 for 2 India, remember, Virat Kohli first, bore the brunt of Muralidharan, Malinga, etc. Before Gautam Gambhir and MS Dhoni took the match away from the Sri Lankans. So Virat Kohli was right. He had already become an ODI star, and he was given a test debut, not a great start, but little did the world know what was in store.
Well, definitely. And just to tell our viewers that Virat Kohli made his ODI debut in 2008, and it was after 3 years that he got to represent India in the most testing format of the game. Now, Nikhil, moving forward, the second milestone came at test number 8 when he played in Adelaide. We all know Virat Kohli's love affair with Australia and also playing in Australia. His record down under is absolutely phenomenal, but his innings in Adelaide was just out of this world.
Absolutely. It was his first great knock in Test cricket, also his first 100 in Test cricket. Australia had piled 604 in the first innings. Kohli came out to bat, Atishay, India were in deep trouble. 87 for 4, top order gone. He scored a magnificent 116 against a world-class bowling attack. Scored 43% of India's total against the likes of, Cummins was there, Stark. So, Virat Kohli showed his true class in Adelaide for the very first time on a world stage. India did not win the test match, but a new era was born. The era of Virat Kohli, the test batsman. His birth as a test batsman started from the Adelaide Oval in 2012.
And also, Nikhil, I think that was the series when he announced himself to the world stage that he's not going to back down to that Australian sledging or Australian, enticing Indian cricketers to go overboard. But Kohli made total use of it and excelled. So that also is one of the hallmark of his career.
Yeah.
Now moving forward, his next test milestone came in number 10.
Yeah.
Playing at his adopted home where he has played his entire IPL career for. It was the Bangalore test against West Indies. So Nikhil, why was this test special?
See, this test was special because Virat Kohli, started playing for RCB. Bangalore became his adopted home since 2008, since the inaugural edition of the IPL. Now, in Bengaluru, it was, the reception he got, it was more than his home stadium in Delhi. He produced a brilliant knock. Again, the hallmark of this knock, the century he produced in Bengaluru, from 67 for 3, he scored a match-winning 103 of 193 balls, put a match-winning stand with MS Dhoni, and India were already leading 1-0 in the series. India took the match 2-0, took the match and took the series 2-0. Therefore, this was another high-impact performance early in his career. When the top order had failed, he again not only showed his skill in Test cricket, but he also showed his temperament and mental toughness.
Well, definitely. And now moving forward, his next Test 100, as Nikhil has pointed out, came in Chennai. Just to give a bit of background about Chennai, Nikhil, it is one of the toughest pitches to bat on, especially on day 3, day 4, when the ball starts to turn viciously. But again, you have rightly pointed out this innings. So what did you see from Virat Kohli in that Chennai test against West Indies?
See, this was a very significant. Chennai test was
beg your pardon, against Australia.
Against Australia. This was a very significant knock for a couple of reasons. First, as you pointed out, the Chennai track on day 4 and 5 is very difficult. It assists the spinners. Also, on India's previous tour of Australia, they had hammered us 4-0. So, Dhoni was under pressure. All the batsmen were under pressure. No one had performed in Australia. Now, it was payback time. India needed to sweep the series. Any scoreline which did not reach 4-0, and the media would have been after Dhoni and his men. So India paid back in kind for the previous tour. This was the series opener in Chennai. Kohli again scored a brilliant 100. Again, he partnered with Dhoni, put a 128-run match-winning stand, and it was the same match in which Dhoni scored a double 100. India won the test match, and India went on to sweep the series 4-0. Revenge was complete. It started with the Chennai test, the series opener in which Kohli scored 100.
Well, definitely. I clearly remember that series. I was overjoyed watching India defeat Australia 4-0 in a test series. So now moving forward, in the same year, Nikhil, Virat Kohli made his test debut in South Africa. Yeah. Again, one of the toughest places to bat, especially against a bowling lineup that time comprising of Dale Steyn, Philander, Mockle.
Yeah.
So again, a tough proposition, but the way Virat Kohli performed under testing circumstances was once again one of his best innings of his career.
Absolutely. Johannesburg, it was his first test match in South Africa. You take a list of all subcontinental batsmen, all Asian batsmen, see their first test matches in South Africa. The best of names have failed. It's one of the most difficult venues in the world, especially for subcontinental batsmen. And at that time, South Africa was amongst the top teams in the world. And the AB de Villiers at his peak, the bowling attack, as you rightly pointed out, Steyn, Mockle, Philander. Steyn was, at his peak then, amongst the greatest fast bowlers of all time with the best bowling strike rate of all time at that time. So what Kohli produced, 2 masterclasses in this innings, Atishay. First, 119 of only 181 balls in the first innings, then a brilliant 96 in the second. In fact, it was the second highest aggregate for an Indian batsman in South Africa. The highest was by Rahul Dravid in the early 2000s. Again, India did not win the test match, but again, Virat Kohli showed his class for the very first time on his debut in South Africa.
Well, Nikhil, as you mentioned, he scored 119 runs in the first innings and 96 in Johannesburg in the second innings. Well, the wait was not long for Virat Kohli before he notched up centuries in both innings of a test match. It came a year later at the same venue where he has excelled against the mighty Australian Adelaide. He became only the fourth Indian, an exceptional feat where he scored in 100 in each innings of a test match. I still remember India was in the hunt of winning that game, but it was Nathan Lyon who dismissed Virat Kohli. He went for an audacious shot over mid-wicket and was caught. But nevertheless, it was another coming-of-age innings for Virat Kohli.
Absolutely. You know, his love affair with the picturesque Adelaide Oval continued in 2014. 2 in hundreds in Adelaide after Vijay Hazare, Sunil Gavaskar, Rahul Dravid. He became the fourth Indian to achieve the feat. Since then, only Ajinkya Rahane and Rohit Sharma have achieved the feat. You know, the first 100 was brilliant in the first innings, but the second 100, when he went for the target, India were bowled out for 315, chasing, they just fell 48 runs short, Atish. India almost pulled off a miraculous win, and it was almost a solo, innings by Virat Kohli, which took them close to the target. And if Lyon hadn't got him out, I think Virat Kohli would have pulled off something special on that day.
Well, definitely. I was hoping that Virat Kohli would, again pull off one of his masterclass. We all know how good he is when it comes to chasing down targets. Now, moving forward, let's go to the 2018 tour of South Africa. Another series which saw Virat Kohli rise his, elevate the level of his game to another level. It was the innings in Centurion, where I guess he scored another tremendous 100, and it was a series where he scored over 500 runs, if I'm not wrong, Nikhil. So what was special about this innings in Centurion?
A brilliant 153. Look at the strike rate with which he played. Only 217 balls out of a total of 307, which basically means the Indian team collapsed and he scored 50% of his team runs. Look at the bowling attack of South Africa then. There was Morkel, there was Philander, there was Kagiso Rabada. This happened in January, Atish. This marked the beginning of a great year for Virat Kohli as far as, test cricket is concerned. This was only the first of his away hundreds. After this, he scored a couple in England. He ended the year with one at Perth in Australia. So it was a great year for Virat Kohli, the batsman. Virat Kohli has a test average of in excess of 50 in South Africa. Not many, and in Australia. Not many batsmen in international cricket, especially from subcontinental nations, boast of such a record.
Well, definitely. It is definitely an achievement for a subcontinent batsman to score runs overseas, but more so when it comes under a terrific bowling attack in South African conditions. As Nikhil just mentioned, that 2018 was a prolific year for Virat Kohli, but just to let our viewers know, it was not the best year for Virat Kohli with the bat. His best year came in 2016 when he scored over 1200 runs in just 12 matches. So just a little bit of stats there for our viewers. Now moving forward, it was again the England series. After so much noise around the media, surrounding the media, whether Virat Kohli has the skill set to succeed in English conditions, and boy, the way he delivered was absolutely tremendous to watch. That Nottingham 100, which you are rightly going to talk about now, is one of the best innings I have ever seen.
Absolutely. See, in 2013 when India went to England, Virat Kohli although he got 100, but he was hopeless. James Anderson was his nemesis, and that same dismissal, poking outside the off stump, caught by the wicketkeeper, caught in the slip cordon, and it had got into Virat Kohli's head, that he cannot bat in England, he cannot bat against the swing and seam of James Anderson, Stuart Broad and the company. Everyone had written him off. The best of journalists in the world had written Virat Kohli off. They said he's destined to fail. He doesn't have the prowess to bat in England. But come 2018, the man scored 593 runs, the second highest aggregate by an Indian batsman in England, only after Rahul Dravid again. Compare this to the 188 he scored in 2013. So 3 times the number of runs he scored. He basically told the world, shut up, I can bat in England, I have all the skills. And something, amazing stat was that he completely he cut off one shot. He did not drive in England. James Anderson tempted him time and again outside the off stump. He just did not drive. He left absolutely brilliantly in England in 2018, and that was the reason for his absolutely splendid performance, 200s, the first one in Birmingham, but the one we are talking about is test number 69 in Nottingham. India won this test, and therefore it was special. India won this test by 203 runs, and actually there was a hope in 2018 that we level the series after winning this test, that we will, take the lead. It did not happen, but the seeds were laid of what happened in 2021. The seeds were laid in 2018.
Well, definitely it was a fantastic tour for Virat Kohli on a personal level, even though India didn't manage to win the series, but for Virat Kohli it was a tremendous tour. Now, to our last milestone, again, Australia, another country which Virat Kohli has enjoyed a lot batting in, but this innings came on a strip which is traditionally known for batsmen to get scared because the ball bounces so viciously, it diverts all over the ground, all over the pitch, I beg your pardon, but Virat Kohli's 100 in Perth was a special knock.
Absolutely. So this was not at the WACA because the WACA stadium wasn't used for test cricket anymore. This was the new stadium in Perth, test number 75. Kohli started with the brilliant 100 at Centurion. He ended with the brilliant 100 at the new stadium in Perth, 123 of 257 balls on again a very, very fast and bouncy wicket at the new Perth stadium from 8 for 2. Bowling unit comprising world-class Stark, Cummins and Hazelwood. Kohli again showed his class in Australia. Also, we have not listed out, some other performances of Virat Kohli in this. I mean, I could easily list 10 more. But one or two I would like to mention, Atishay, just as captain, what India achieved after, in 2019-20 in Australia under Virat Kohli's captaincy, not just one match, the entire series, although his personal form wasn't great, it was Pujara who made us win that series with the bat and Bumrah with the ball. But the first captain who led us to a test series win in Australia, yes, there was no Warner, the naysayers will say there was no Smith, but so what? The first captain who won us a test series in Australia was Virat Kohli, and then in 2021 he took us to a 2-1 lead in England before COVID-19 stopped the series midway, and that will be completed later in the summer this year.
Well, definitely, Nikhil, you can't talk much about how Virat Kohli has done so much for Indian cricket. He has literally taught the team on how to win test matches in overseas conditions. But now, Nikhil, Virat Kohli is probably undergoing one of the leanest patches in his career so far. His last test 100 or last international 100 came in 2019. Now playing his 100 test, everyone wants him to score that 100 in his 100 test. Even 50% of crowd will also be there in the stadium. Just to tell our viewers, only 9 batsmen have scored 100 in their 100 test, and Ricky Ponting is the only batsman to score 200s while playing his 100 test. So are we going to see another masterclass from Kohli?
I mean, personally, I would love that because I admire the batsman. He's been a great servant of Indian cricket, one of the greatest of all time across formats, only one to average above 50 in all 3 formats in the history of the game. And just what he's achieved for test cricket, not only for India, he's been an ambassador propagating test cricket to the world. It's ironical that he seems to be a batsman who's, made his career on ODIs, on T20s, RCB, but he has always said that test cricket is the pinnacle, test cricket is the real thing. And yes, his test average is in the mid-20s since that Bangladesh 100 in 2019.
28 to be precise.
Absolutely. And therefore, but I don't think, we have seen the last of Virat Kohli, the test batsman. Maybe the 100 test is just the catalyst and the inspiration he needs to produce, another one of, Kohli's all-time classics.
Okay, before we, Nikhil, so before we wrap up this show, if there's one innings, if you have to pick out from Kohli's test career, which innings would that be?
I think the first 100, Atishay, Adelaide,
is always special.
It's always special, but the circumstances, he was not a good test batsman before that 100. He was already an excellent ODI batsman, but it came out of the blue when others had failed, the big guns had failed. Against a world-class Australian attack, India was under pressure. I think that knock showed that this batsman belongs, in the league of the big boys, and he can play the five-day game, just as well as anyone else has in history.
Well, there you have it. Nikhil says the first 100 which he scored against Australia in Adelaide was the most special innings which Nikhil has watched Virat Kohli play in Test cricket. And so the first Test match between India and Sri Lanka starts on March 4th. And just to tell our viewers, Nikhil will be there in Mohali. He'll be joining us tomorrow straight from outside the stadium, or probably in some place in Mohali, to preview the first Test match with us. So we'll be covering the entire tour here live on News 9 Sports. If you want to check in on any sports, you can log into news9.live and you can get in touch with us, and we cover all the sports. Until then, take care, and if you like this piece of information, do like, share and subscribe to News 9 Live across all social media platforms.